the end of history, you talk about history having some sort of direction. And the idea is, it reminded me actually of Andrew Carnegie, who also believed that history had some sort of direction. His view was that mankind was improving, that there was moral development in addition to political development. And so as part of this direction, things like, famously he referred to slavery, dueling, these things would be perceived as illegitimate as part of this direction. But then he came up against war, against conflict. And he did think that there would be some evolution where rational human beings would see war as immoral. So was that just a case of him just going a little bit too far?
I don't think so. Actually, there are a number of anthropologists that have done empirical estimates of homicide rates over this very long span of human history. There's a prior tradition that comes out of Rousseau where people believe that violence in human history was an evolved characteristic, that you know, the noble savage was actually peaceful, also eco-friendly and very green and all this. And it turns out that everything we can tell about early human beings suggests that's not true, and indeed the primate precursors of human beings don't look like they were very peaceful either. And when you estimate, let's say, murder rates in contemporary hunter-gatherer societies, or you try to estimate rates of violence in archaeological digs where they've uncovered, you know, among Neanderthals and among, you know, other early human communities, you know, mass graves and, you know, lots of evidence of really terrible violence inflicted on other people. You know, it looks like we're actually getting better, although you wouldn't know that from the current headlines. But, you know, the rate of homicides in Washington, D.C. Is still notably lower than it was in London in the 15th century, and that in turn was a lot lower than it was in, you know, hunter-gatherer times. And so I think there actually is some, you know, empirical grounds for saying that things are getting better.
Right. So there may be a way to think about conflict in a way that doesn't necessarily lead to total violence, chaos, industrial war, that it can somehow be domesticated in some way.
Well, see, I think that we're very cynical about that because of the 20th century. You know, the 19th century had been a century of progress and economic growth and largely free of large-scale wars. And it turned out that once you turned industrial production towards the process of war, you could kill an awful lot of people. But again, you know, to put that in an even broader historical context, the 20th century, you know, ended in 1945 in a certain way, and things have, you know, have been quite peaceful, although obviously the potential with nuclear weapons is still there.